Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Okay, it was a regular day in our neighborhood, just like any other. I was 9 years old and a new family had moved in across the street. They had this sweet 9-year-old girl with a couple of pet bunnies. Cute little things. Now, I've already been a bunny lover, so it was like a match made in heaven. Me and a bunch of other kids from the neighborhood would head over to their house to play with those bunnies, and man, we had a blast. Fast forward 2 years and everything was chill. No problems, no drama, just happy bunny time. But then here comes Mr. HOA Jerk. This guy lived next to the new neighbors and apparently had a talent for finding things to get annoyed about. Our homeowners association was alright, you know, just the usual stuff like keeping your grass neat and avoiding neon pink paint on your house. But this HOA dude, he was on another level. So after 2 peaceful bunny-loving years, this guy decides it's a big deal that our new neighbors have these pet bunnies. Why? Because buried deep within our HOA rulebook was a line that said no undomesticated pets were allowed. Seriously? Bunnies, who were basically like family pets at this point, were suddenly considered non-domesticated? It's like they were plotting to take over the neighborhood or something. Anyhow, HOA Jerk starts making a fuss, goes to the HOA board and starts yapping about how the bunnies need to go ASAP or the fines would start raining down. The new neighbors, being good folks, try to reason with this guy. They explain that the bunnies are harmless. They are pets for crying out loud. But the HOA Jerk ain't having it. But here's where it gets interesting. The new neighbors were actually planning to move back across the country soon, closer to family and all. But they did a sneaky thing. A private sale, no signs or anything. Most people didn't even know. They could have just shrugged off the HOA's letter and bailed before the fines kicked in. But nope, they had something better in mind. So what do? They gather up 4 wild bunnies from a friend's place in a rural part of town. Wild bunnies, mind you, not their pet bunnies. They unleash these wild bunnies in the neighborhood the day before they leave. And oh man, these bunnies are like party time. They start multiplying faster than you can say carrots. Naturally, they picked HOA Jerk's backyard as their party central. See, this guy had spent years perfecting this super fancy garden of his, flowery, bushy, like something out of a gardening magazine. But those bunnies didn't care about his masterpiece. They did what bunnies do best, multiplying like crazy and munching on everything green in sight. The HOA Jerk goes ballistic. He's sending angry letters, making calls, petitioning the HOA to wage war on these bunnies. He's out there with hoses, nets, you name it. But those bunnies just keep doing their bunny thing. They are popping out babies left and right, and the neighborhood is basically a bunny paradise. I mean, they are cute and all, but I can't deny it was getting a bit out of hand. Time goes by and the bunny population explodes. It's like they formed their own little community in the neighborhood. Most people were cool with it, and honestly, it did give our yard a cozy vibe. But not for our dear HOA Jerk. His perfect backyard turned into a bunny buffet, and there wasn't much he could do about it. So here we are, 20 years later, and bunnies are still running the show in our neighborhood. And as for the HOA Jerk, he is still around, living among the bunnies. He eventually gave up the fight and just let them be. It's like poetic justice or something. He messed with a 9-year-old's bunnies and now he's got a whole bunny kingdom to deal with. Looking back, it's kinda hilarious how it all played out. Those bunnies are a part of our neighborhood's identity now. And hey, thanks to you brilliant folks who pointed out that HOA hole would have been a perfect name for him. I totally missed that golden opportunity. Life's funny sometimes, ain't it? A few years ago, I worked a job that required me to travel a lot. From Monday night through Thursday night, I pretty much lived in a hotel room. I did this job for 10 years, and because my destinations were nearly always in the same cities, with my meetings at nearly the same location, I stayed at the same motels. The company I worked for paid for the hotels and expenses. They also had no issue with me joining rewards programs with the various hotel chains I frequented. After a time, several of the hotels knew me by name. One hotel in particular had a room that they referred to as Mr. Theologian's room. With another chain, I had more than made diamond status on the rewards program and had over 750,000 points. So when I would call and reserve a room, they would automatically upgrade me to a presidential suite if they had it available, or a master suite if the presidential suite was not available. So one Monday afternoon, I arrived at my motel destination with my reservation information handy in case I got a new person at the desk. As I entered the lobby with my luggage, a couple was at the desk and there seemed to be an issue. The desk person, which was a manager, was trying to explain to this couple that the hotel was filled. The man was saying he had called to check on rooms earlier that day for the event going on in the city and had been told there were rooms still available. There was an event in that city that week and all the hotels were full. I knew about the event in advance and had made a reservation 2 months in advance. Knowing I was going to be there at the same time as the event, I planned ahead. The woman in this couple had become unhinged before I had arrived. The woman was shouting obscenities and making claims of racism, and the man kept asking to speak with the manager, which he was. The guy was frustrated and upset, but he was also trying to keep his cool and calm his nearly rabid female companion down. It was really embarrassing to stand there and watch this go on. After about 15 minutes or so, they reluctantly gave up and decided to leave. As they stormed past me, the man told me, "Give it up, man. Ain't no room here." I go up to the desk and the front desk manager greets me and says that my room is ready. Well, the couple that were leaving heard this, and I only thought that woman had been loud the first time. The woman came flying back to the front desk demanding to know why I had been given a room and they had been turned away. And now I was the target of some of her ire. I tried explaining that I had a reservation, but that didn't seem to matter. I, along with the front desk manager, were being called all manner of obscenities and being accused of all kinds of crimes. The woman, without warning, suddenly turns at me and tries to kick me, though she only managed to kick my suitcase. Her male companion came over and is trying to get her to calm down, and he's now apologizing for her, but she just keeps on and on. This went on for 5, maybe 10 minutes before the police arrived. The manager had sounded an alarm because she felt endangered. Having a big citywide event, the police were traveling in pairs, so there were 2 of them. The police managed to get the woman somewhat calmed down and start taking statements. The woman keeps demanding that I be arrested for stealing their hotel room. My statement was easy: I'm here on business. Here is a copy of my reservation made 2 months earlier. And no, I don't want to press charges for attempted assault. After the police take everyone's statement, they tell the couple they have to leave or they will be arrested. The man seemed a little pissed off but agreed. His female companion, though, she exploded. I'm not going to go into detail on what all she had to say here. Her male companion was now telling her to shut the hell up and just go. But no, she wants her hotel room that she was entitled to. Her actual words, actually. It didn't end well for her, because, well, she slapped the cop. And what happened next happened so fast it was incredible. The cop she slapped spun her around, put her in cuffs, and dragged her out to the car. All it took was maybe 45 seconds. At the same time, the other cop turned on her companion. This guy immediately threw his hands up in the air and said, "I am not with her." The guy then kept apologizing for her behavior as he left. The cops finished up and left. I could see the woman in the back of the car crying and saying something to the cops as they left. The rest of that week went by pretty much uneventfully. Let me tell you about a little incident that happened recently involving my son Alan, his new wife Helen, and yours truly. Now, I am not the party-loving type. Not by a long shot. I'd rather cozy up with a good book than be in a crowded room full of people I barely know. But hey, that's just me and I respect that others might enjoy the social scene. So Alan, my 26-year-old son, just tied the knot with a lovely Helen, who's around the same age. I adore them both, I really do. They decided to throw a wedding bash, and when I heard it was going to be quite the shindig, was about 150 guests, I could feel my introverted self cringing already. Before the big day, I had a chat with Alan. I told him, listen buddy, I'll be there to support you and Helen, but parties aren't my jam. I might slip out early. And I figured the rest of the family could tag along if they want. Alan nodded, seemed cool with it, no biggie. Now the day of the wedding arrives, and let me tell you, it was quite the affair. The ceremony was touching, and after it was done, I walked up to Alan and said, "Great job, son. Everything looks wonderful, but I think I'm gonna head out now." Alan, ever the considerate guy, asks if I'll at least stay for cake or food. I take a peek at the spread, and well, it didn't exactly set my taste buds dancing. So I tell him I'll just head home. He sort of shrugs and said, "Okay, go ahead." So I make my way to my table, gather up my things, and start saying my goodbyes. Meanwhile, my wife, Alan's mom, isn't exactly thrilled about the idea of driving back alone. Now this venue was quite the distance away, and the roads weren't a walk in the park either. After a bit of back and forth, she decides she will join me, and off we go. 2 days later though, our peaceful post-wedding world gets turned upside down. Helen, the new bride, goes on a text rampage, spewing some pretty harsh words. She's disgusted with us, she says, and she starts tossing around insults like confetti. Frankly, it was pretty darn shocking. I didn't raise a fuss, just tried to ask why she felt it was okay to treat her in-laws this way. Her response? She lays into us some more, blaming our exit for supposedly ruining the whole night for Ellen. I didn't take kindly to her tirade and shot back a few words of my own. I mean, come on, where is her respect? I dialed up Alan not to start a battle, but just to give him a heads up about his wife's fiery temper. Parents gotta look out for their kids. But what do I get? Alan starts laying into me too, saying stuff like, "You always do this," and "just leave me alone." Now let me pause right here. I'm scratching my head thinking, wait, did I miss something? I mean, I told Alan beforehand that I'll probably make a quiet exit. I thought we were all on the same page. But apparently not. And before you ask, yes, there was supposed to be a mother-son dance, and yes, I was counting on the food costs. Let me set this straight, I love my boy. There is no doubt about it. But that doesn't mean I suddenly turn into the life of the party. So, the big question floating around is, am I the one in the wrong here? Well guys, I will let you be the judge of that. I believe I had the courtesy to warn Alan about my potential early departure, and he seemed cool with it, but clearly weddings can bring out all sorts of emotions. Look, I get it, weddings are a big deal, they are a celebration of love and unity, and everyone wants them to be perfect. But let's also remember that not everyone thrives in a bustling, crowded atmosphere. And let's not forget about respecting communication. If you're inviting someone to an event, especially family, don't you think it's fair to consider their preferences? In the end, my dear Redditors, this whole situation got me thinking. It's all about finding that balance between celebrating love and understanding the quirks that make us all who we are. So if you're in a similar boat, remember this story, and if you're hosting a wedding, maybe think twice before mixing an introvert with a party that's livelier than Times Square on New Year's Eve. Life's too short for unnecessary drama, folks, and Helen, if you're reading this, take a breather and maybe reconsider how you handle things. To me personally, Crown? This guy was a little bit annoying, to be honest, so I chose to sound a little bit annoying when I was reading this story. I hope that didn't bother you, but I felt the need to do that, so yeah. Anyways, now for some comments on the post. One commenter says, "You messed up big time. You didn't even stick around for the meal they had paid for. It's really awful that you showed such a lack of care and respect as a parent. You also pushed your wife to leave, so your son didn't have either of his parents at his reception. I am really baffled how you don't realize that you're the one in the wrong here." Another one adds, "Exactly, and now he's acting like he's the one who's been wronged after his new daughter-in-law called him out for it. I mean, why bother showing up if you can't fully support your son on his big day? It's a big deal that he left before the mother-son dance or the speeches. Also, the way he commented on food not being good, that says a lot. It seems like his son is really tired of him pulling this kind of thing every time he needs support. I'm not sure why he can't understand that he's the one at fault here. Oh, and by the way, saying I might leave early doesn't mean right after the wedding ceremony. His son definitely deserves better treatment than this. A third commenter goes with, "You're in the wrong. You skipped all the usual stuff that happens at a wedding party. You didn't say a speech, your wife didn't dance with your son, he didn't have his parents there to enjoy the celebration even for just a short while. Instead of showing love, you basically said, 'Hey, you look good, but I'm leaving.' And you made your wife leave with you, all because you couldn't be bothered to spend a couple of hours at your son's wedding." Hey, I'm curious about what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Backstory: for the last few years, I, male 29, have been developing vitiligo all over my body, which has become very noticeable on my hands. For those that do not know, vitiligo is a skin condition in which white blood cells attack the melanin pigment in your skin, causing the loss of skin color. I have natural tan skin that has resulted in white patches to form all over my hands that are very noticeable. My family, mostly my brother and dad, has mocked me for this skin condition multiple times. As a result, I have become self-conscious of my white spots and started to wear tattoo concealer to cover it up. The other day, I was heading out to work and forgot to put on the concealer. One of the places that I go to is my local coffee shop before heading into work. As I was in line, a kid, probably about 9 or 10, came up to me and proceeded to say, "Ew, what is wrong with your hands?" I ignored him at first because I found it rude. While it was a child, I was always raised from a young age by my mom to never stare, point, or criticize people's conditions, especially since we never know how they may have gotten them. After ignoring them, they then asked me again what is wrong with my hands. I relented and told them that I was uncomfortable talking about it and to please not to ask me again. And I proceeded to turn back around. I know that I could have used this as an education moment, but I do not feel that this is my responsibility to educate others on how to be decent human beings or about my skin condition. Kid did not like my response, and it was at this point that child's mothers got involved. Dear reader, let me tell you what. I have always thought these stories about entitled parents and rude people were exaggerated, and that no one could be this oblivious. But after this interaction, my opinion of these stories have changed. She got my attention with that dreaded "excuse me" phrase, and I knew I was in for a ride. The interaction went as follows. "Hey, my child asked you what was wrong with your hands. The least you could do is tell them what happened." Ma'am, I'm not comfortable talking about it. I do not need to tell your kid anything. Well, why not? If you did not want people to ask about your deformity, then you should wear a glove. Now I will ask again. What is wrong with your hand? Reddit, it was at this point that I saw red. However, keeping my emotions in check, I said calmly, I was in a terrible accident in which my hand was mangled. It was mangled so badly that I almost lost my hand altogether. Each white spot that you see is a scar from where bone, blood, muscle, tendons, and so on were on the outside of my hand. I lost lots of blood and almost died from the accident. I was lucky enough that my hand was saved, but it left me with scars. While this was all fabricated on the spot, I felt that being as graphic as I could would maybe teach her and her spawn a lesson in leaving people alone, especially after they already told you that they did not feel comfortable in talking about it in the first place. She honestly clutched her imaginary pearls as I was recounting the story, and by the time I was done, she was white in the face, and then she grabbed her child and left the line quickly. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.